From the Athens Tech Studios, this is the Athens News Podcast. Local news you can use about Athens and Clarke County, all in 7 minutes. And now, here are your top stories.
Hello and welcome to the Athens News Podcast, which has been selected by Feedspot as one of the top 20 Georgia news podcasts on the web. We certainly appreciate that distinction. I'm Melissa Carter. Here are your top stories brought to you by Drake Realty. Early voting has ended in Athens with over 1,100 Clarke County residents having already cast their ballots. We've spent the past few weeks here on the podcast interviewing candidates and have several more coming up today. So if you haven't voted, feel free to check out all these conversations before casting your ballot. Tuesday, all voting precincts will be open from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. This from WUGA. A legal battle is underway over whether district attorneys in Georgia are exempt from the state's open records laws. The Georgia Supreme Court heard arguments last week in an appeal from Athens-Clarke District Attorney Deborah Gonzalez. Gonzalez argues that top prosecutors are not subject to public records requests, citing constitutional immunity. The case stems from complaints by local resident Jarrod Miller, who alleges that Gonzalez's office failed to process records requests timely and even ordered text message deletions. Gonzalez's lawyer claims only the state Supreme Court can regulate access to DA records and argues that Miller has no standing since he didn't file the requests himself. The court's decision could have significant implications for public access to information and transparency in Georgia's judicial system. A ruling is expected in the coming months. This from the Georgia Recorder. Athens-Clarke police are investigating the tragic death of an infant found deceased last week. The baby, discovered in bed with his mother, prompted a 911 call from their home off Jefferson River Road. According to reports, the 25-year-old mother informed authorities that she and the baby had fallen asleep on the couch, only to find him unresponsive upon waking. The baby was lying on his mother's left side, away from the back cushions of the couch. Despite efforts, the child was pronounced deceased upon arrival at a local hospital. While no foul play is suspected, authorities will conduct a medical examination to determine the cause of death. The mother stated that she was unaware of any medical issues with the child. This from the Athens Banner-Herald. Carol Myers is currently the commissioner in District 8 and is seeking re-election, and she believes that inequity is a big issue in Athens, and she'll tell you why coming up next.
A new, exciting podcast about dads for dads. Legacy Makers, a conversation for dads. Download now wherever you get your podcasts.
It pays to know your doctor. It pays to know your lawyer. And now more than ever, it pays to know your local real estate professional. Hi, I'm Jeffrey Drake with Drake Realty, and we have 7 offices in the metro Atlanta area, including 2 right here in Cobb County and 1 at Lake Oconee. I'm the proud leader of over 700 agents here in Georgia, and we pride ourselves in professional service, whether you are the buyer or the seller. Drake Realty makes the home buying process seamless from contract to close. Our agents are a little different. They're not pushing for the quick sale and close. They are pushing for the best price and terms for their client. In other words, Drake Realty fights for you. Now's the time to buy that dream home, vacation home, or new home your family deserves. A lot of real estate agents talk big. Let my team at Drake Realty prove they will fight for you. I'm Jeffrey Drake, and I'd be honored to have my team serve you. Visit us online at drakerealty.com. And remember, it's not how quick you sell or buy, it's what the deal provides for your future.
Are you looking for a part-time or a full-time job that allows you to work from home and a schedule that allows you to get your kids to the ball game, church activities, cheerleading, and all other places a busy family needs? The Athens News Podcast is looking for a people person, a local account executive who can help our podcast grow. You'll call on local and regional businesses selling the podcast, adding to our list of great sponsors. Earn extra money and meet new people all over the county. Call BG Ad Group today at 770-874-3200 and ask for Darren.
Carol Myers is joining us now. She's District 8 Commissioner seeking re-election in the primaries. How are you today, Carol?
I am good, and it is a pleasure to be talking with you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I've said this so many times on the podcast, I admire those that are in the fray, who were serving the community and getting out there. And like I said, you're already serving as District 8 Commissioner. So tell us a little bit about your job and why you're seeking re-election.
I'm seeking re-election because I want to continue doing the work that I've been doing. I can talk a little bit about why I ran for office originally and what's motivating me to keep going. And that's really just a deep desire to give back something I got from my parents, who were both school teachers and worked with their church and different organizations up in New York, where I'm from. But that's come through to me. I became a teacher as well. I worked at Athens Technical College, teaching lots of young people over many, many years, and returning adults as well. I really often refer to my time at Athens Technical College as sort of the root of my desire to get into county politics. I'm a very well-educated, got a bachelor's degree, master's degree, and then went and got a doctorate while I was working. But when I was at Athens Tech, most of my students were first-generation college goers, post-secondary education, and we served 13 counties. But in Athens, most of my students who were at Athens Tech were from the Black and Hispanic community here in Athens. And so I got to know parts of the community and people's life stories that I wouldn't have gotten to know if I, for example, had been working at the university. I'm very aware of a lot of the inequities that exist in Athens. Those are things that I can address further. I was helping people on an individual level when I was at Athens Tech. And as a commissioner, I can advocate for people across the community. I've had a very good middle class life here, raised 2 daughters. And I wish that there were more people in Athens who, in our lower income, we have a quite high poverty rate, who could have that same kind of life as well. As a commissioner, you can't change everything. You're not in control of the economy. You're not in control of all the laws, the state laws and federal laws. You're not in charge of what businesses pay individuals and industries and such. But you can make a difference. And so ultimately, that's what motivates me to keep running for office.
Carol, let me ask you this. You talk about financial inequities, and the lifestyles are very different from those who make a lot of money and who don't. We've had television shows and historical studies about this very same thing. It seems to be a perpetual issue where there's a group that has all the money or most of the money, and there's some that just can't seem to get a piece of that. So talk a little bit about what can we do today to try to see if we can mitigate the gap, because you mentioned being middle class, and there's an argument that the middle class is disappearing.
It is. I was looking at some wonderful graphic online that showed the income levels of families. I think you can find it like for any community. It's one of these super websites that does amazing things and would show you the spread of incomes over the years. And I did notice that the gap, just as we're having across the country between those who are at the top and the bottom, has spread out more and more. And also very difficult to even to have the middle class life. I had what they call a gray divorce about 7 years ago and found another home a couple of years ago in the neighborhood I live in. That was 3 years ago now. The price of my house then was probably about $70,000 more than I thought it would be like a year before, because I hadn't been out of the real estate market for a while, right? Mm-hmm. And now the value of my house is another $100,000. So if I were in the same situation, it wouldn't be as easy for me to get a house here in Athens as it even was 3 years ago. So there is a bigger discrepancy. One of the things about local government, it's accessible. People can come down to City Hall. People can call their commissioners. I have about 12,000 people in my district. I can respond to calls. I mean, fortunately, not all 12,000 call me, right? But I can respond on a personal level. So whereas for state officials and national officials, elected officials, they can't have that interaction. And so people can interact, which is great, but they can also expect a lot of things that sometimes local government can't do. What we can do is work. There's a lot of us working in different silos here in the community, and we can work to make those connections better so that right now I'm involved with some workforce development work with the Chamber of Commerce, with a lot of local leaders connected to workforce. And then that ties directly into my work for almost 30 years at Athens Technical College, which is just a couple of miles from downtown. And for all of us to work together, we have a lot of employers coming to Athens who are going, we need employees. We have a lot of people in Athens who need better jobs. How do we get them to those better jobs? How do we provide the educational skills, the employability skills, the transportation, the access to those jobs, knowing about them. Those are the places where I think the local government can help expedite and smooth out and connect those different silos. We have an economy that the local government definitely does not control. And I don't have any better alternative, but it's clear that there are haves and have-nots, and there's probably fewer in the middle right now. I don't know if that really answers your question, but it's probably something we could talk about all day.
It does, in essence, that people can actually still voice their opinion and try to get something done. One of the reasons that we've done these interviews for the podcast is just to highlight the importance of local elections and the fact that the May 21st primary is an important thing to get involved in. A lot of people tend to either ignore local politics or ignore the spring elections. But if you are angry about an issue, I would think that you would want to get involved by voting and by researching your candidates and really getting involved. And would you agree with that?
No, I totally agree. I definitely agree with that. I mean, you can make a big difference. I mean, one of the issues that I didn't talk about is some of the issues that have to do with the environment that I'm connected to, have been advocated for a lot. There was just a small group of us called the Athens 100% Clean and Renewable Energy Initiative, who worked in the late 2010s to get a 100% resolution for the community, for the county government itself to transition to renewable energy by 2035 and for the larger community by 2050, although, that's aspirational. We did that, and then we worked also on getting some money into our local SPLOST program. That, to me, was just an amazing thing because it was really the hard work and dedicated work of 6 people who showed up again and again at county meetings, who met, who put together resolutions and advocated with our commissioners and got something done. You can't do that like that on a state level. I tell that story a lot to people because I think people do have the ability to change local government, to get involved in local government. Now, we don't act quick some of the time, and that's what gets people frustrated. Sometimes it takes pretty long to get a project done. That's because often we're having a lot of public input and there's a lot of back and forth and checking in with the commission. So, for example, we have a new East Side library coming to the side of town that I represent. And some people are like, well, what happened to that? Well, this process has been moving along, but there's a lot of steps involved. And so sometimes local government can also be frustrating for people, but I definitely encourage people to get involved. It can be frustrating, but it can be incredibly rewarding as well.
Carol, if people wanted to find out more about the issues that you talked about and more about you and your campaign, where would they go?
I'd start at going to my website. That's votemyers.com, and it's MYERS. There's a lot of information there. There's ways to get a hold of me as well. And if there's a specific issue that's going on in the community now, people can email me at my City Hall address, which is carol.myers@acc.gov. And of course, you can find that at the Athens-Clarke County website as well.
Carol Myers, who's the District 8 Commissioner running for re-election on May 21st, but early voting is going on now. So, Carol, thank you so much for your time.
It's been wonderful talking with you, Melissa.
Achieve more with Athens Tech. At Athens Technical College, their programs can connect you with in-demand and high-paying careers.
I graduated from Athens Tech in May and started my job 2 weeks later. I had the job before I left, thanks to my professor, and just focusing on growing a career.
As far as Athens Tech, I think I've been a member of the advisory panel for 10 years now, and it's been an awesome experience.
I'm currently going to Athens Tech. I started out as an accounting major. I've finished all my accounting classes and then switched over to the culinary and baking program.
My name is Alex Lang. I'm an electromechanical engineering student. This is my second year at Athens Tech, and I graduate in December. The long-term goal is to work for the railroad, whether that be Norfolk Southern or CSX.
Achieve more with Athens Tech. Find out more at athenstech.edu. Learn how to succeed and win big in life, plus much, much more. Listen to the Red Hot Read podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
From WSB's Facebook page, the University of Georgia's Shikari dance team is honoring one of the victims of a tragic car crash in Alpharetta. Sriya Avasarala, an 18-year-old freshman pre-med student, was killed in the incident along with 2 others. There were many posts of prayers and support for the family, and then Amy Trapani added, "I reported speeding and possibly drag racing at all hours in this exact area the last couple weeks to Alpharetta. The Alpharetta police said in a statement it was most likely caused by speeding. Please ask the city to do something about the constant speeding issue in Alpharetta before another deadly wreck happens here." Marietta City Schools is launching an expanded literacy program in collaboration with the University of Georgia, focusing on middle schoolers. Dubbed Writing the Book on Literacy, the Next Chapter, the initiative aims to equip students with essential literacy skills for high school and beyond. Supported by a $1.1 million investment, the program will implement a science of reading-based approach, providing training, coaching, and resources to educators at Marietta 6th Grade Academy and Marietta Middle School. Collaborating with UGA's Mary Frances College of Education, the program will conduct focus groups and data analysis to refine strategies and enhance outcomes over the next 2 years. This from WSB. In sports from Dog Nation and the Red and Black, a piece of Georgia football history is up for sale with a hefty price tag. Kirby Smart's 5 Points mansion hit the market last week, listed at $4.2 million. Additionally, former co-defensive coordinator Will Muschamp's Oconee County home is also on the market, priced at $3.5 million. Also, the Athens Pro Hockey team has unveiled its new team name, the Rock Lobsters, honoring hometown band, the B-52s. And finally, Athens-Clarke County police are investigating a burglary reported at Athens Gas and Welding Supply. According to the police report, thousands of dollars worth of items were stolen from the premises. The burglary occurred overnight, with the owner reporting damage to the fence and side door. Employees were permitted inside to assess the situation, revealing the theft of 3 welding machines valued at $850, $1,000, and $2,000 each. Additionally, 5 welding hoods valued at $600 each were reported missing. Authorities are continuing their investigation into this incident. Anyone with information is encouraged to contact Athens-Clarke County Police. This from the Red and Black.
Thanks for listening to the Athens News Podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
This podcast is a production of BG Ad Group. All rights reserved.
This podcast aggregates content from other sources for informational purposes and is in no way trying to infringe on the copyrights or businesses of any other entities. All content posted up on the site is used under the Fair Use Copyright Law 107. All audio, media, and articles are copyrighted to the original owners. All audio on this podcast are embedded from YouTube.com and are owned by their respective copyright owners. No audio information are copyrighted or stored on our servers. The court ruled that linking or embedding copyrighted videos is not copyright infringement, even if the source video was uploaded without permission. However, we will gladly remove any audio clip upon valid request from respective copyright owners. Any owners also have the option to disable embedding his YouTube videos on other websites. News and press articles are owned by the respective copyright owners. Where possible, the appropriate accreditation or source of the article is given on the same page. The audio-video files on the site are for listening purposes only. Downloading of these files to one's computer is strictly prohibited. They are owned by the respective copyright owners. If it is in the organization's belief that the usage or specific content used on our site containing copyrighted knowledge conflicts with authorized use and or does not comply with fair use as described in the context, contact us through our contact page and we will remove the offending content immediately. Thanks for listening to the Athens News Podcast.